There's a reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right.
What's up? You know, I debated with myself as to whether I should bother with a video over this topic because it seems so obvious to me. But as a retired teacher, I've had the privilege to be around a ton of young people, still am. And I've always been kind of dismayed at how divorced from their Western heritage that they are. Our society has been so riddled with postmodernism and social constructivism that it seems they've all been fooled into throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So anyway, many of you are going to be familiar with the concepts I wish to convey within this video. But many won't, and it's toward them I'm addressing my thoughts. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, before I begin, I'll preface this whole thing on the Bible, because that's the tradition in which I've been raised. But I really think that the concepts elucidated here are kind of universal. I think that everyone can relate to them. But since this video is about the kind of government God actually prefers, I'll begin with the government God himself prescribed for Israel. He set up a government of these guys called judges. And they exercised their authority over the entire nation until the institution of the monarchy under Saul. And the judges referred to leaders in the tribes of Israel who were chosen by the people to deliver the Israelites from their enemies. They were essentially chosen by the religious leaders, the prophets, and the people, and various communities. So, what does that sound like to you? Sounds to me like a republic. So anyway, it would seem that the government God initially instituted favored a decentralized power structure. So I kind of think this whole thing speaks for itself there. Let's go on to the next. Well, the people of Israel got tired of that arrangement, and so they decided they wanted a king. Oh, we want a king. I can't figure out really why they wanted a king. I don't recall the Bible actually addressing that point. It may have, I just don't remember it. But God didn't want that. And he said so very literally. He didn't make any bones about it, because he said he didn't like that shit. But anyway, this is an excerpt from the Bible, which God was reading them the riot act about the whole thing. And speaking to the prophet, of course. I think it was Samuel. But anyway, I'll just read this. This will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be his confectionaries, and to be cooks and to be bakers. And he will take your fields and your vineyards and your olive yards, even the best of them, and he will give them to his servants. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and you shall be his servants. Or actually, what he's saying is slaves. Now that kind of speaks for itself, don't you think? Kind of re ipsa loquitur, if you will. And I think this illustrates the point that God, what's represented by a king? Centralized authoritarian power. And, God didn't like that shit. He didn't want that shit. He liked, the old way with the judges. He liked the republic better. So, I think this whole thing kind of illustrates the point. A principle that centralized authoritarian power isn't something God likes, because it's always going to produce evil and vile servitude. And if you don't think so, just look at history. Throughout history, there's never been a single time that a government has gobbled up a tremendous amount of power that they haven't abused it. Sure, there might be one or two things that they did that was okay, but overall, they fucked everybody over. They always do. Always. So anyway, let's go on. So think about it now. Ask yourself this. Is the devil omnipotent? In other words, is he everywhere at once? And the devil, Satan, darkness, evil, whatever. Is it a personal thing? Is he omnipotent? No, I don't think so. I think only God can be that. So if the devil isn't, how does he project his control over humanity or his influence? Well, I would think he has to do it with lesser evil entities, which he would assign throughout the world with him at the top. Just like you see here with this corporate structure that I've got here, like BlackRock. So there you have it, centralized power. Centralized power is the way the devil does shit. And the more centralized the power, the greater the tyranny, like I wrote here. Always because there is no check on its ability to oppress. Power corrupts. And you look at some examples. Corporations, you got BlackRock that's got its fingers in just about every major corporation in the world. Hell, its economy is as big as, it's like the third or fourth largest economy in the world. Religious institutions are that way too. And the more centralized they are, the more evil they do. Look at the Catholic Church over the centuries, burning folks alive and cuddling up with the Nazis and, inquisitions, all that stuff. Then when you have monopolies in trade, like Google is a good example. Look at what they're doing, trying to censor everybody and stifle the free exchange of information. By the way, use Yandex or Luxel, either of those. They're a lot better. And then there's the robber barons of the last century. People who had so much power that they could actually crash the whole economy of a country. And then you've got political parties. That's one of the most obvious, I would think. Nazis, communists, in general, statists, collectivists. Whenever you have that shit, you've got evil. They'll say, oh, we're going to take care of you. We just love you so much. But in the end, they get rich. They keep everybody equally poor. And they just kill anybody that they don't like. What is it, 80 million? 60 million in Russia, 80 million in China. I mean, it's just like 150 million people butchered in the last 100 years. People always say that religion does so much evil. Well, these guys have done way more evil in just 100 years. 150 million people. And, if you don't think they'd do it here, you are an idiot. But anyway, here's an example of decentralized power on this little chart here. And as you can see because the power is so spread out. No single entity has the power to fuck everybody over. And then, of course, you've got a hierarchy here, the example, BlackRock or any of the other institutions I went over. So you can see now, and the truth of this, I don't see how anyone can disagree with it. I just don't understand. And yet, time and time again throughout history, we all want to be like the goddamn Israelites and get a king, metaphorically, and have somebody control everything. You know, I just don't understand it. But, you know, that's kind of the purpose of this video, is to maybe try to illustrate the point in a maybe a fresher way. A fresher way. So anyway, onward and upward. So anyway, as I've already said, I'll read this here. People who advocate for a centralized state like to tout themselves as being somehow moral or loving, but if you look at the history of humanity, all you'll see is that their daddy is the devil. So I think the ultimate lesson of this video is to show people that if you want to work for God in society, all you have to do is oppose centralized power at every level. Always. Make sure that the power goes down to the people. That's one of the reasons why I'm so big on guns, because people don't have any power unless they have the ability to resist. You know what I'm saying? And the neat thing about it is it doesn't matter what religion you belong to. Everyone can do this. Jew, Muslim, although I don't think Muslims would want to, but you know, any religion, any philosophy, you name it. If you want to serve the deity, Providence, the Almighty, if you want to inject a healthy dose of goodness into society, you need to always work toward decentralizing power. Anytime you see a political party or an individual who wants to centralize everything, you know that cocksucker is up to no good. So anyway, it's like I said, it all seems so obvious to me. But anyway, I did the video. If you like the video, or if you like my videos, I haven't done that many of them, you know, give me a subscribe and a like so that it'll get out to more people. If you've stayed with it this long, thank you. Anyway, till next time, adios.